to you by Paranormal Inc. right here on WLFE DB Radio.
Well, hi everybody, it's Dave Seiler and my partner here.
Hello, it's Ernie.
And we have a good show for you tonight. We have a very, 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 very special person with us, Miss Lorie Johnson.
How you doing, Lorie?
Hello, how are you?
Good. So before we jump in and get everything started, tell us a little bit, Lorie, about what you've been up to. Can you hear me, Lorie?
I can. I'm going to have to get out of their show because it's echoing for me.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Well, I don't like knowing who asked anyways because I like to see spiritually. That'll feed the psychic. You know how that is. I'm doing very well. I'm very honored you guys have me on your show.
Oh, it's our pleasure. You know that.
Well, you know I love you guys.
Well, I love you too, sweetie. You have been awesomeness. So yeah. we fell in love with you season 1 of Ghosts of Shepherdstown. Even more in love with you with season 2. And then you started hanging out with us, so we really fell in love with you. Woohoo!
You know, I'm very picky when it comes to the paranormal investigation part of what I do. And when I met you guys, I seen that you were very skeptic, and I love that. Mm-hmm. Even though David, he is hilarious, and I love how he screams.
amongst other things, yeah.
He does, and I've seen a lot of you being beat up, Dave. But I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are alive. You're down to earth, and when I do investigations myself, no matter if it's in person, remote reviewing, I love working with people like you guys.
Right. So. And I'm glad you brought up remote reviewing. Can you just, for those that's watching, we have a lot of people that watch that are new to the paranormal field, and they want to learn as much as they can and absorb everything that they can. Can you just explain just a little bit about what that is so that people know?
Well, there's a couple of them that I do that I actually separate, but it's almost the exact same thing. I do a remote healing. Uh-huh. Remote healing means that what I do is basically I read energy. And because I only worry about seeking the truth, and I do not take anything personal, and once I'm done doing something as far as remoting, psychic readings, mediumship, healership, I let go of all of it. So when I do my remote, it's basically throwing my, I call it the remote astral projecting. That means that I can take myself and put myself right beside you.
Right.
So it's a mental brain balancing to where I trust where I'm going.
Right.
No matter if there's a negative, and a lot of people think, oh my God, there's demons. Not everything is a demon, even if it's even showing itself as a demon.
Right.
So when I'm doing my remote or my astral projecting, I'm looking aside of all that. It's not that I care, but I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when I'm doing it, I know I'm doing my job. So it's really a hard thing to do, to throw your thought to be where in time, your future. I do all of it, and it's remoting. And they call. I do not like brand naming things that I do because back in the day, and I love the psychics and the mediums that were in my future of growing up, we learn from everyone's experiences. But a lot of people, I'm a mentor. I have a class that I teach people here on Facebook or even in person on Skype, all of it. The number one thing that you have to remember is do not take anything personal.
Right.
Even if it's coming at you, you still do not take things personal, because then the human mind steps in and fear steps in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are fearing, oh my God, it's a demon, or oh my God, my glasses just moved.
See, Lorie, I have to throw this in there too for people that's newer to this field. A lot of things make people scared, okay? Especially when they haven't, and you'll agree, when they haven't had a paranormal experience and they're in the kitchen, doing dishes and the cabinet opens. If that's your first experience, you're going to think, oh my, Satan's here. He's trying to hurt me. And the best advice I can give from the paranormal side is that knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the less fear you have.
Yeah, but Ernie, you got to remember, there's a lot of people out there making mountains out of molehills to the point where, I'm including myself, I was not raised to acknowledge what I do today. Mm-hmm. I was raised as Southern Baptist and then a Baptist, and then I married a prostitute. I mean, there is not a religion that I did not participate to understand the differences, and that's why I don't believe in religion, because to me, we're all created as one.
Right.
When we die, we all, when we're ready and we have unfinished business, and we have a clear slate before we die, and this is what I do. I've talked to a man that was dying, and he thought he was going to go to hell because of the things that he chose in his path of his life. And I told him, the number one thing is, how can our Creator, and I call him God, forgive us if we don't learn to forgive ourselves?
Right.
To look at it as we were created to make mistakes. We're not perfect.
Right.
No one's perfect.
Lorie,
That's what makes us better people.
At what age do you remember realizing, hey, there's something special going on here?
I always felt out of place in my life. My mom and dad, my mom had dark brown hair, my father had coal black hair. My siblings my dad was born with all white hair when he was born. So I had a couple blonde hair brothers. Nobody in my family had red hair. I had bloody fire red hair with huge freckles. I looked like Annie Oakley, basically. I had all the names named when I was younger. And I always felt out of place, but I never felt as if I needed to run away or hurt myself or I think that I was a freak, but I always felt that I was something different about me. I never felt special. Mm-hmm. I still, at my age, I don't want a fat head. I don't want to come off as I'm conceited. And a lot of people think that I do because they don't realize where I began in my beginning of my path to where I am today. I love what I do with all the love and the light and I love what I do. Right. Because, and I'm not bragging. I don't like to brag. You ask me, you could go ahead and talk about yourself. I don't talk about myself. I don't know how to talk about myself. I talk about what I do. Right. And that's to make another person happy. And that's what I do. I'm very proud of where I am today. Because I should have died a lot of times.
Right.
and I didn't.
Right.
But I was 6 years old when I realized, Lorie, you're talking to the dead.
Right.
And, when I first had, and I remember when I was 2, and there was always an older man, kind of balding, dark skin, belly, always protected me. Mm-hmm. I remember crawling over rocks, and wherever my dad was, I was there. I was daddy's girl.
Right.
And kids, I'm the oldest girl, I'm daddy's girl. And I remember trying to crawl over rocks. And there's an old man coming around the bushes where the property where my father was born in Lanham, Maryland. And I remember him coming around and he would go, and I heard him in my head, not my ears. I heard him in my head. Mm-hmm. But I'm 2 years old. I wasn't even 2 because I was still in a diaper unless my mom,
Right.
just kept me in a diaper too. But and then the older I got, and then I kept seeing him, and then it took me 30 years old. I was staying with my grandma, my father's mother. She's 100% German, and she had a stroke. So we all stayed, took turns staying with her. And one day she was going through pictures. She handed me a huge pile of them. She said, "You give these to your father now, okay?" And I said, "Okay, Grandma." Mm-hmm. And I had taken them to my dad, and I seen a picture. And something just overwhelmed me, and I started crying. I said, "Daddy, who is that?" And he said, "You don't know who my father is?" And I said, "No, Dad." He says, I said, "I remember him when I was little." He said, "No, you don't. Mm-hmm. He died before you were a year old."
Right.
I said, "I saw him all the time." Before I got in a car, he would tell me no. If I got getting ready to start or do something, he would tell me no. He would redirect me out of trouble. Mm-hmm. He protected me all my life, and he was 100% 100% Cherokee Indian.
Nice.
Now, how did because I know over the years, besides investigating with you and tons of private conversations and things that I had going on in my life that you helped me with and guided me through and basically gave me a heads up. How did you transition from realizing your gifts and abilities and turn that into helping people and educating people?
Well, I do remember when I was younger, I was always in church. I loved my church. I went to Riverdale Baptist Church. I went to I was always in church. And I remember the senior women and men would come to me, and they would just grab how you would just grab a hold of a child's chin and lift them up and say, honey, you mean more than you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I always had people come up to me and tell me I had the most whitest skin, that I had the skin of Mother Mary. Mm-hmm. And I never understood that because, it's an abused person, and I was very abused when growing up. Right. I never knew my worth, but then I started growing up not worrying about my worth through another person.
Right.
And this is through my healing. I learned that people learn your worth through you.
Right.
You don't earn it through another person. You have to learn to love who you are, what you do, and where your heart directs you to. And, there's relationships, there's marriages, there's, the direction of self-worth, self-love, and I started, people would come, they were just swarming all over me. And then the older I started getting, people started looking at me like, what do you think you are, Miss Know-It-All? And all I kept hearing in my head was, above my head, it was like, yeah, but I'm not a know-it-all. I don't want to be called a know-it-all, but I'm a know-it-all.
I want to take a minute and share something with everybody. And Dave, I may have told, I'm sure I told you, and this involves you, of course, Lorie. 2 years ago, it was July, and I work permanent midnight shift, so I was at work, and it was the middle of the night, and it was my last night of work before my vacation started, and I was setting to leave to go to Jersey. And I had contacted Lorie. I had lost someone's phone number and said, hey, when you speak to him, have him get in touch with me. So Lorie said, okay, no problem, thank you, or whatever. And a little bit later, I was sitting out front of a restaurant in my work car. Now, granted, it was July. So I'm sitting there, and I got the windows up, the air on full blast. It was like 90 degrees at night. And I had this feeling, and I don't feel things. I can't reiterate that enough. And I was sitting there in the middle of the night in my car, and I felt this, like, prickly, tingly feeling on my top of my head, and I started getting really cold, but I started sweating. It was to the point where I turned the air conditioner off in my truck and I rolled the windows down to let some warm air in, because that's how the chills took me over. And I'm like, oh hell no, I hope I'm not getting sick because I'm getting ready to leave for vacation. So no sooner I'm sitting there trying to figure this out, Lorie sends me a message. And she's like, hey, I don't remember how you opened up, Lorie, but you were like, I just spoke with you 45 minutes ago and something's starting to come through and I just wanted to share it with you. But the funny thing is, it was the exact moment when I got these chills and for no reason, my head started sweating while I was cold. Now, what Lorie told me, for those that are watching, she described to me the inside of my grandparents' house that I grew up in when I lived with them, and described a photograph that for 40 years I forgot existed. I don't even know where it's at, but described my grandmother, myself, what we were wearing, and what our hair was like in this photo.
Oh, wow.
And she also told me of now, my mom's still alive, but Lorie described a necklace that I gave to my mother when I was in second grade when back in the day you could go Christmas shopping in school, you know what I mean? You'd make your little list and your parents would give you the money and you'd go back the next day.
Right.
But describe that ornament or that pennant that I gave my mother and that she still has it to today.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, just, you know, based on what you were talking about with remote viewing and this and that. And this, now when Lorie sent me this message, and this was over my cell phone, I knew Lorie very well. We spoke a lot, but I had never met her yet in person.
Oh, wow.
And that just completely blew my mind.
Well, no,
because
she blew my mind. She turned me into a believer. And Miss Lorie, I don't know if I've ever told you this. You absolutely, I used to be very, very, very skeptical of psychics, mediums and all that.
Yep.
You turned me into a believer when I met you in Gettysburg. You pulled me outside during the break, and you said, "Dave, I smell something burning in your house." Now, Lorie has never been to my house before.
Never.
All right, I know what part of the world you live in. You're about 30, 40 minutes from me, but you've never been here. And she said, when you walk in the door, there's a TV on your left as you're coming in, and the living room's to the right. And she goes, "I smell something burning at the TV." And I was like, okay, I took it, walked away with it like, okay.
He left out the part, Lorie, that he's still got one of them big 1974 console TVs that sit in the...
It's a plasma. It's a 50-inch plasma, but it is a big monster, and it draws a lot of energy. Well, a few days later, I really did smell something burning in my living room. I'm like, what is that smell? And because Lorie had given me a heads up ahead of time, I immediately went running over to the TV, and there was smoke coming out from behind it on the wall socket. I pulled out the plug, and it was burning. If you guys check on my photos on my personal page, you'll see the photos. I took photos of it. Only reason why I even thought about it is because of what she said. And from that day forward, I am a true-to-God believer in you, Miss Lorie.
Well, thank you very much.
So you are a sweetheart. You saved my house, and I've talked with you many times. You saved my hide a couple times, whether you know it or not, too. And we'll talk about that off air. So, but yeah, this is an awesome lady. She really is.
Well, thank you.
So what are you kind of doing with yourself these days?
Well, October 26th, I will be in Martinsburg doing an event. I will post about it. It's an awesome event. It's for the area. I did live in Martinsburg. I lived in Shepherdstown. I actually lived in Shepherdstown even before production started, a year before production started. My cousin was killed on the track there. It kind of was very devastated to me. Mm-hmm. So I moved into Martinsburg. And, it's basically home to me. Both places they're both beautiful places. And if anyone ever goes through West Virginia, stop by there. Shepherdstown, look for Mike King. He's a good person. He's a good man. He's very dedicated to what he does. Just don't not go through there. And then in Martinsburg, we're going to be doing a show. It's an event. It's like a costume event. Party for adults only, and hopefully you guys can come and join. I'm not sure about too much of the details right now.
When is it?
October 26th. It's a Saturday, and it's at night. Okay. And I'll be there. I'll be doing readings, healings. I'll be part of a lot of the things that are going on around there. And then next year in October, we're going to do a kids fun type of an event, and I'll be part of that as well with Spring.
Now, as far as the event in October, you said this year. Mm-hmm. Very important question. Are you going to be dressing up?
I am. I am. I'm actually. I don't know if it's going to be Dolly Parton or Elvira, but it's going to be one of them.
Oh, go for the Elvira, girl.
Elvira,
oh, yeah.
Come on. You even have to put that up for debate. Hey, you want to know? I started construction on this year's costume for Halloween. Mm-hmm. Guess what I'm going to be?
Don't say a cop.
No, hell no. I don't like that costume.
Let's see. Well, you're bald, so I can say Uncle Fester, but that's Dave's spot. Let's see. You would look good as a vampire or something.
That's what I was last year. This year, I think I'm going to dress up as Dave Seiler.
Oh?
He's a I know Scooby-Doo.
Oh?
Yeah, I was last year I was because I always dress up and take Ava trick-or-treating. And last year I was a vampire, and the year before that I was a Catholic priest. And it was funny because
There's a joke
Dave
there.
and no, this is serious. Dave and I were on our way to lead a public investigation at the Haldeman Mansion,
yep.
and it was after the costume portion of the party. So I'm dressed as a priest, and we went in. We always stop at Sheets because we don't have Sheets down here where we live. So we always stop and get a snack and a good cup of coffee.
Yep.
And like someone actually thought I was a priest and followed me out to the car and was asking me for advice.
You know who you would look good as? It's Beetlejuice.
Oh, dude! Beetlejuice!
Can I? You know what? I've never seen that movie.
Oh my God!
Oh my God, you have got to see it. My kids were walking around.
I have never seen that.
It was in the 80s, and they were walking around. You know how? Tyler probably knows what I'm talking about. Where he honks.
Yup.
Michael Jackson's spot.
Yup.
And I'm like, oh my God, you kids are not going to watch this again if you do that again.
I've never. That was
watch it. It is hilarious.
that was Michael Keaton, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I never saw that.
We'll have to watch that, man. It's a good movie.
Yeah. But you would be awesome as Beetlejuice.
Deo! Me said Deo!
No, I'm not that loud. I'm a pretty monotone guy.
Yeah, but so is he. He's very quiet.
But
Just walk around with the what is it? The undead book.
Yeah, the Book of Undead. Yep.
back to Shepherdstown. How's it since production wrapped up and you all rolled out and went on to new ventures? Has there been any claims yet? I mean, we've been back to.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realize that just because it's not as much
Right.
activity doesn't mean that because they're not talking about it. There's a lot of people still contacting me. I mean, and I'm gonna try to do my best to get a production to follow behind and get my own team to go and check on these people and also other stories that are coming to me with some activity going on. So I cannot say that it's quiet because they still do come to me.
Right.
Right.
But you can, I do go up there a lot. I do still talk to a lot of people. I do a lot of remoting for people in Martinsburg, Shepherdstown,
Right.
Harper's Ferry. I mean, it's the whole surroundings.
Harper's Ferry. We ride down there a lot. Not recently, but we ride down there a lot on our motorcycles. And I have a friend of mine. She used to be a cop in Harper's Ferry, but she's elsewhere now. But she was telling me stories that was going on, activity that was going on in her house. This is like back in like 2004. She knew I was into all this, and I mean, some of the claims down there, man, it's.
Well, no. One of the things is when they went to the John Brown Museum, I had been there probably about 5 years before with my scouts because we hiked all the way through the Appalachian Trail, came into Harper's Ferry, and that's one of the places we visited.
Right.
And a couple of my kids were saying about some weird kids, like just like running around and things like that. So, that was years before they did the show. And
most definitely.
Right. Now let everybody that's watching live keep in mind if you have any questions for Lorie, we can see them.
Yep.
Just feel free.
I'm watching on two feeds.
Type them in and we'll get them to her.
Another place that I want to take you and Dave, Ernie is Howard County, Ellicott City, where it flooded.
Yes.
And I had gone down there, and there's it's actually in my archive of pictures, but a friend of mine and I had gone down there because that's where I had met, I was 12 years old when I lived down there. So, I mean, it wasn't unfamiliar to me.
Right.
And I was going down there, and all of a sudden I started seeing all these people just walking around in their 60s, 70s clothes and their 50s clothes. I mean, it was like time warp was everywhere.
It's funny you mention that, Lorie, because like in our seminar, we speak about how we got started and all this and that. And, I had my first paranormal experience, I guess it was like 1987 that I can remember. The very first time I ever investigated the paranormal, my friend who's since passed away, he was with me. It was like 1999. And one of the stops that we made that night was exactly where you're talking about in Howard County.
Absolutely.
And basically what we did was we waited till the middle of the night when we knew the streets would be dead. No pun intended. And we basically parked my truck and got out and it looked like a documentary film, basically. We were walking around filming. We had the old, high 8 video and was running audio. And that's a very cool place. And that's one of those hidden gems, in my opinion, that people don't realize.
Definitely. Well, do you remember, I want to say about maybe 5 years ago, there was 2 girls that were killed on the track.
I absolutely remember that.
Right.
Well, 3 days before that, it was a weekend, and him and I were down there, and we were walking around, and I used to love collecting rocks. Don't ask me why, I just had to have it. And I had taken a few of them home. But anyways, we were walking around, and we had parked underneath where the train tracks are because they're above ground.
Yep.
There was a really bad flood there. And all of a sudden, these 2 young girls come around, and I said, and I looked at him and I said, was there a train wreck that 2 girls got killed? And he goes, no, there was no train wreck, but there was a flood here, and a lot of people had died, and a lot of business went out. And I said, no, these girls are dressed like we are today. And they gave me their name. I can't remember it because I take this personal. I mean, something like this devastates me, but I cannot take it to heart. I don't take it too much of a heart because then it will destroy me.
Yeah, you can't carry it with you, or else it'll eat you up.
Oh my goodness! I'm telling you, with half the readings and healings I do, if I did, I would be in a loony bin.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Lorie, let me ask you.
Hold on. So, anyways, we're walking around. These 2 young girls came by, and they showed me where they worked, and they showed me it was on the right, or my left, because we were facing the tracks. And he said, no, I don't think so. And 3 days later, 2 young girls, exactly what I said they were wearing, exactly. One of them had their shoes off. They were sitting up on the train tracks, and both of them were killed.
Wow.
3 days later, and I was so devastated. I needed to take those rocks back because I felt like I disturbed the earth or something. Or was there a way that I could have saved these girls?
Right. Now, let me ask you, let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, I call you right now and I say, hey, Lorie, we had this case come in. We're going to this house tomorrow. They feel they have some activity.
I'm already there, yeah.
At what point, once we make plans, I say, hey, Lorie, I'm picking you up 8 o'clock. Here's where we're going. See you tomorrow. At what point do you start zoning in on that investigation?
Hey, look.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, because you've got to remember, I read energy. So if you're already there, you've already been there or already heard it, I'm looking through your energy to that pinpoint energy to that where that person is that you're talking about. I'm already at their place.
Right, because I remember one night we were on the phone and we were rambling on, and you were telling me something about me, and I intervened and was like, basically, what are you talking about? And you was like, Ernie, I'm speaking to 11-year-old Ernie. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was completely, sometimes I'm just so out of tune with what you're doing. Right. Because but it's amazing.
I need to hold everybody up for a second. We just need to take a 10-second break. Hold on for a second.
You've been listening to Step into the Paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler.
Okay, that was our break.
All right.
This won't take long, did it?
Back in action. But
All
now,
right,
when
so
you...
wait a minute, let me grab one.
Go ahead.
All right, so you're familiar with Ellicott City. You know where the paper mill is, and on top of that hill where the haunted college used to be?
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever been up there and in there?
No. I have been around there, and I don't need to be up and in there. I'm already there.
Well,
Just because you just said something, I'm already in there.
Well,
So
I had a
what do you want?
very weird experience when I was very young. Me and two of my friends, a guy and a girl, went in there. We actually went in like at 1 o'clock in the morning. We climbed those side steps on the side, found a way in, went through the building, really interesting, but ended up in the basement. And my friend, she found this mirror downstairs in the basement.
Okay.
And it was this large ornate mirror. And it was dated 18 something or other, and it was beautiful. So she's like, I want it. Of course, we're teens, and she's pretty, so we took it for her. We got it back to her house. She hung it up on her wall, and about 3 days later, there was a burn mark in her wall where the nail was, and it collapsed off the wall and shattered. So she actually cleaned it up, threw it away. About maybe a month later, we ended up going back in there to re-explore and have some fun. That mirror was back in the same spot.
Absolutely.
And she wanted to take it again, and both of us were like, nope, not this time. Nope, nope, nope. So, very interesting things happen in Ellicott City.
Now, the night I was talking about where I went on my first investigation in '99,
right?
That was one of the places we stopped.
Nice.
That was very interesting.
Well, have you visited the what is it, Glen Arden or penitentiary that's over there?
No.
Oh my God.
Where is it?
I think it's Glen Arden or it's
Glen Arden's in PG County. Yeah.
Yeah. It's right. It's in PG, and there's a shut down sanctuary over there.
No kidding.
Oh wow.
Well, back in the early 70s, KKK was over there.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
They had the skinheads over there.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of it, Lorie.
No.
Oh yeah, you have to look. You got to find it. What is it? It's not Glendale. Oh, it might be Glendale.
I think that there is a Glendale
there's
too.
a Glendale.
Yeah.
I've heard of that, the Glendale Penitentiary, but I've never been there.
Oh my God, you guys have. You want to talk about some activity?
Really?
Yeah, there was a lot of back in the day, and I don't see it anymore, and I'd love to start it back up. But back in the day, a lot of the paranormal teams would go and clean out the grave sites and graveyards, and just clean up and polish the headstones, and we would do that, in regards of allowing us to go and investigate.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'd love to go into Crownsville, and you know Crownsville as well as I do. So that hospital was a mental hospital. They did lobotomies there. They did electroshock therapy.
Oh, they did a lot more than you think they did.
Oh, well, my grandmother was actually in there for a couple weeks because they thought she was losing it. Mm-hmm. So she actually hurt me when I was a kid by accident. And, of course, back in that time when I was a kid, they immediately had her psychologically evaluated, and she had to stay in there a few days. Right. She was okay, don't get me wrong, but I heard some horror stories coming out of there, and I'd love to get in there.
Yeah, thanks for talking about it, because now I'm already there. But there's a lot of, just like in Gettysburg, when I go, there's a lot of stories that are being told on some particular places. And it's just like when I do murder cases or do runaways, and the parent comes to me or a person comes to me, hey, my daughter ran away, she's been gone for 7 days, can you help me out? And of course I help a lot of people out with doing that. And then they'll ask me to do an investigation with a team, and everything that I'm seeing is somewhat what they're saying, but it's not the exact story that I get. Because what happens to me, no matter I'm in 2019, at the time of what particular event that you're wanting to know, I go back in that time. I'm literally not seeing you guys anymore. I'm seeing everything that was.
Yeah.
See, that would drive me bonk. I don't know how you do that, girl.
Hey,
I really don't know.
I want to try to spice this up for a minute while we're live, and I want to ask you something.
Ernie, watch your hands.
I want you ever been evaluated?
Occasionally. I was dropped on my head when I was a baby several times.
You're supposed to stay with Sheldon said. I'm not crazy. My mom had me tested.
Well, what happened with Dave was when he was a baby.
Mom used me as a hammer.
When Dave was a baby, you know how your mom throws you up in the air?
Oh, yeah.
Well, when she threw Dave up in the air, she forgot to catch him.
Okay, so he's baby Huey.
Let me ask you this.
Okay,
Recently, Dave's been experiencing some things in his house right now where we are sitting right now.
I already know what it is.
That's
a personal thing, and I will not go in that. But if Dave wants to call me and do it,
you're absolutely right. And actually, I'll be happy to say what I think it is. And the reason why is my daughter, my 13-year-old, when she was 12, about 6 months ago, kept hearing this whistling. She thought it was me playing around. It was actually probably about a year ago. And she got to the point where she was...
Dave, I'm going to stop you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember what your grandpa used to do when he would be walking around with the dog?
She's right on the money. She's
I'm already in his past showing me, telling it's him. There's something's going on in that house, and I already know, but it's going with the same.
Yep.
Dave, I'm going to bring in the shamanism healer. You need to get checked, honey.
I believe it. I've started becoming more positive, though, and I'll tell you about that offline, but
Dave,
I can feel my grandfather here.
Okay, your grandpap's there. He says, I'm number 2 dad.
Yep.
That was going to be my question.
Yep.
Who it is? It's
yep.
But he's not alone. But he's not alone. Dave, were you a cop before? A security cop?
I used to be.
Okay, and you remember the small, kind of like a strip mall, but a mall area that you started out?
Holy shit.
Oh, wow.
How the hell do you know that?
Okay, listen. Do you remember the young kid that got shot and you kind of tried to save him and you couldn't?
My God.
Dear God, stop that.
I even know this story.
All right, well, I don't, and I'm just living the life, but that boy's around, and it's something to do with his family.
Holy shit.
Holy cow. Lorie, is it okay if he tells you what happened?
Yeah, go ahead, because I've already lived it. I just lived it.
Oh, my God.
And Dave, you still hold that, not now, but back in, I would say maybe 2 years ago, you finally let go of it.
Yeah, pretty much. I've really accepted it.
When me and you talked about it.
When we were talking about it, you're absolutely correct.
That's him.
Tell everybody what happened.
So, years ago, I was a police officer. While on duty, I got a call out, man with a gun.
Where?
Glen Burnie Mall.
Which was?
It's now a strip mall, but then it was actually a mall. And it was about 2 a.m. in the morning. Gentleman was walking from left to right, and I saw a weapon in his hand. It came out of my cruiser, drop the weapon now. He raises up the gun, fires twice. I just returned fire. And it all goes into slow motion in my head once I see the flashes. And pretty much I run over, kick the weapon away, flip him over, handcuff him, and then pull out my weapon again because there's woods behind the Glen Burnie Mall where the Golden Corral is now in the Walmart. Yeah. My sergeant comes up very quickly thereafter. What's going on? I said, check the woods. So we got everybody running into the woods, checking them. And I stand up, and he's like, Dave, is this your blood or his? And I stood up, and I went out. When I looked, it was my blood. I'd been shot. And unfortunately, I had to execute my duty. That was part of the job. But it really has haunted me because it was a kid.
Yeah.
The shrink asked me, do I hold regrets and all that? No, because I went home and I had to execute my duty. But did I? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Regardless, I mean, no matter what, you took someone's life.
Yeah. So, and I really haven't talked about it much along the way, but I actually let Ernie know about 2 years ago, and, that's kind of where my release was. And, yeah. Wow, that's weird. That's wild.
All right, but the thing is, he might have came out of his, I call it purgatory. This is what happens when you do something and you hold yourself accountable. When we die, we don't have that ego, that pride,
right,
anger, and pissed off. So you're not the first one that he's done that to. Oh, wow. So he had a lot of shame. I'm telling you, this kid that what happened? He actually killed a young child.
Oh, wow.
And it's an open case still, but they put it in a file or something in that police department. He killed him, and they found the kid in the water. He did that. So what's going on is he's now looking for salvation through you because you're part of it. He needs your forgiveness, and he wants you to help him.
All right.
Give the name of the killer that did these killings to this girl that they found in a trash can. I want to say maybe 18 months before that happened to you.
Okay.
And it's in. I want to say I don't understand what they're telling me. It's a cop that y'all know that died. He had a massive heart attack on the job.
That was Sergeant McAllowitz.
Yeah, he's an older guy with salt and pepper color hair. He's got a mark on his chin where he got grazed by a bullet.
I think that was Sergeant McAllowitz.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, so the kid, there are a lot of murders he did, and nobody still does not know it, and to give peace to the family. And so these people that got murdered, did you know back in the day, and this is the reason why I deal with a lot of unfinished business with a lot of souls that are still earthbound, because, back in Christ's time, people were getting crucified because they saw a loaf of bread to feed their family.
Right.
So now he needs to know salvation through you for the forgiveness of being blamed, or taking his blame on these murders he did, so that way they will be at peace, the ones that get shot or that got killed by his hands. Because he was in a gang. You do know that, right?
That I don't know. I didn't know. I know he was high on about 9 different things.
He was in a gang, trust me.
Wow.
Yeah, and you were actually supposed to have died that day.
Oh, Lord Almighty.
Yeah, so you didn't, because it wasn't your time.
Oh.
But you stopped the monster. That's what I call the beast. He was strung out on so much stuff that he was actually robbing the local liquor stores around there before all this happened. He was the one that robbed the pharmacy around the corner. It was because it was a gang that was just starting. And
oh, wow. Wow.
So you need to bless your home, and I can help you when you're done. I'll help you. But he's in there, and he's the one that keeps making the noises on your steps. If you hear noises on your steps.
That, Lorie, that was going to be the next thing I tell you is Dave hears someone
It's the kid.
coming up his steps.
If you actually check my site, you'll actually see I posted a video the other night of my cat hearing it too. There's a box on my steps that I keep the cat from going downstairs on. Yeah. The box actually moved and flew away, flew down the steps. My younger daughter was here Friday night, and I was outside having a smoke. My phone sits on a couch to my left where I sit at, and she comes running out and goes, "Dad, Dad, 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 Dad." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Your phone just flew over the couch and hit the floor." I went, "What?" And I look in. It's on the floor next to the table, from about maybe 4 feet.
This is what happens when they come out of purgatory and they've done a lot of bad stuff. If they don't get the closure, this is what causes the negative to be able to take over them and start a lot of scratching, a lot of mischief, a lot of poltergeist, a lot of crap. So, Dave, we need to do this like ASAP.
Yes, ma'am.
And then after that, we're going to release him, and then he needs to go into his next transition, and he needs a lot of help.
I texted you my address. If you're not busy Tuesday, I'll happily come get you. And come on over. I'll take you home too. You know, as long as we leave my grandfather here, because I love him to death, and my grandmother.
Yeah, you know what? You can love them, but honey, they're not allowed to stay. If he hasn't gone in the light, and he has, got the light around him. They're not allowed to stay, honey. I know you love your granddad, just like Ernie's granddad's right behind him. He calls himself Pop. He's Ernie, big Ernie. So you're not allowed to stay. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to come and visit and keep me protected.
There you go.
You need to be in peace.
Yep.
Because your granddad keeps going to a very small, long home, and he's happy there.
Yep, and I know he was a happy man, and he was my pop. So, yep. But I know he protects me. I know he's on my shoulder watching over me. I do know that.
Well, that's probably why he's there, because he knows that there's some negative Nelly.
Yep.
And most definitely will protect your daughter.
Yep.
But you also have Is your wife's, is it her father? Is he alive?
He is.
And he's losing a lot of weight?
He has lost a little bit of weight, but not a lot.
Okay, yes, he will.
Okay.
Okay, how old is he?
I'll say older than I am. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, is he in his 80s, honey?
No, not quite yet. I think he's in his late
70s?
60s, early 70s.
Okay, so who is the older man that has a military haircut? He kind of like keeps it dark and short. There's a man here and he's dying. And what happens is a lot of people don't realize that a soul detaches when somebody is getting dementia or Alzheimer's. They're in their transitions of their soul releases before the body dies.
I don't know anybody with a militant haircut.
Do you know who is Ralph?
I don't know Ralph.
Who is
Ernie? Do you know who Ralph is?
Do you know Ralph?
I do.
Who is he?
Before, I will make this quick. Before my wife became ill with her heart condition, she took care of an elderly man 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
And he eventually passed. His name was Ralph. However, we're still friends with the elderly man's son and wife. And the son, his name is Ralph.
Okay.
And he also has recently been suffering with conditions similar to Ruby's.
Cancer. He's
Yeah.
got cancer. And
Okay.
He's here.
Wow. I mean, that's the only Ralph I know of. And I know Ralph is a tall, dark-haired man, and he's very thin. And I do believe he was in the military, because my wife was always saying how OCD he is with certain things, like changing batteries and stuff.
And he has to make sure that he's sitting straight up.
Yeah,
into it.
keeping everything, like with the cars, like everything on the dime is changed at the proper times.
Yep,
And
I'm with you.
yeah, I mean, we haven't spoke to him in a little while, but yeah.
Wow, this is gonna be good. Look at it. I'm getting
Yeah,
from this.
this episode, folks,
Yeah,
kind of took a
wild
little bit
turn.
of a turn.
Wow.
Honestly, though, Lorie, we didn't expect anything less. Yeah. We didn't expect anything less, and what
you are amazing.
Yeah, what you do is absolutely amazing, and like Dave said earlier, and I'll explain this as best I can without, because I mean no disrespect. I was very skeptical of mediums and psychics and sensitives. At no point ever did I say that anyone that has that gift is trying to pull a hoax. It's just, I always thought maybe psychics think they are and live their life as they are, but they're really not. There's no such thing. But then once I met Lorie, I mean, my world took a complete 360-degree turn.
Well, when I first met you at the, what was it, the Jenny Wade or the
orphanage?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you looked at me and go, I'm not trying to be rude, but I do know that there are people that say that they're psychic mediums, but what can you do to prove it? And that's when I told you about your wife condition. And then a few other things, and I went into your past, and you're like, oh my God, and everybody's around me like, jaws are dropped.
Yeah. I'm gonna share a quick one, and I never ever said this like on any show or anything like that, but I'm gonna put it out there. And if my daughter-in-law is watching, I mean,
hey,
Lorie hosted an event at the Lookout House in Gettysburg, and I went up there with her and was part of leading the investigation. So toward the end of the night, now everyone knows that I had a death in the family a week prior, but I never told anybody any information. So we were there, we're doing our thing, and I think we were running like a spirit box or something. So Lorie was kind of seated behind me, and out of the blue, Lorie says, hey, Ernie, someone just entered the room and they're standing behind you. My first instinct is always my grandfather. So whatever box we were running, we were making contact, and I asked. I said, hey, if this is my grandfather, can something, anything to let me know that it's you that's behind me? And lo and behold, immediate response over the spirit box, I got the name Gus. Well, that didn't mean anything to anybody. Everybody knows my grandfather's Ernie. But what they didn't know was the death in my family a week prior was my daughter-in-law's father, Gus.
Holy crap.
I've never told her that. I've never told no one that.
Wow.
I mean, other than other people in the field.
Right.
But as far as like, I've never, because I just didn't know if it was the right time. But coincidence, who knows? But as soon as Lorie said that, and, I asked who it was, I got the name, a male voice come over and said Gus.
Wow.
He's with her now.
Wow.
He's trying to console her.
Wow.
Wowzers.
There's also a younger male with him, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, just I didn't get to tell you at this point, but my daughter, was it Friday, actually saw my phone move, and she was sitting on the computer at the kitchen table, pretty much where we're sitting now, and my phone moved, and she heard it drop about 6 feet from where it started. Didn't break, but she comes running out, Dad, 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 Dad. She thinks this is cool as all get out, but she knows she's saying it's my grandfather too because she actually heard him whistling. Now, the song he was whistling, she could not know in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. Ernie actually knows. It's actually engraved on his headstone because it was his and my grandmother's song. And it was from that era in the 20s. So how could my now 13-year-old know that song and be able to whistle it back to me?
Right.
So that is just, to me, there's proof that it's out there, that there's energy out there, there's spirits out there. To me, that's just proof.
Your daughter's hearing it, that means she's awakening.
Right.
Yeah, my nephew, which is my daughter's son, actually is proven to me he can see. He's actually seen spirits up at Haldeman and described them to me.
Hold up. Your daughter's son? That would be your grandson.
No, try that again. My sister's son. I'm sorry. My talking problem.
He's getting excited, Lorie.
Woohoo!
I see that.
Hey, Lorie, I got one just final simple question.
Okay.
In 2001, my best friend passed away
Behind you.
unexpectedly.
Which one, though? You have a light brown hair one. You got a blonde-haired one. Which one?
Light brown.
Okay. He's like, the hell yeah.
That's him. He took me on my first paranormal investigation in 99. He passed away in 01. You already answered my question. I just wanted to know, does he ever come back to me?
Because I'm the one that irritates you and makes your toes itch.
You know what? He was an ass when he was alive and got on my nerves, and that's awesome. I was actually just...
He's also moving stuff on the top shelf right close to the closet door where you got that... I've never been in your house, but I'm just letting you know. You come down and you're turning toward your left, right in front on the left side, on the second shelf from the top. There's things keeps falling over. He's doing that too.
Wow. And that's true.
That's I'm probably the only one he's told about that things are moving in that area, and he's told me several times.
Yeah, I have a lot of not a lot, but I have activity in my house that occurs once every couple months. It's nothing.
Yeah, but Ernie, I want you to pay attention to that because that could be giving you a warning because it's your wife's. I think it's her mom and grandmother. It's a real tall, thin lady. She looks just like, and then a shorter lady, a little stocky. Not heavy, but a little stocky. When something's getting ready to happen to her, they're doing that to give you heads up. So now they're telling me, thank you for telling you that.
Wow.
So pay attention to her because around every time something happens. It's something's going on with her, and she's not telling you everything.
Okay.
And your wife just told me spiritually, shut up. but I'm not going to do that.
Right.
She doesn't want you wearing them, but you do need to wear it. There's nothing severe bad, but she's not doing something right.
Okay.
She's stubborn, just like her daddy.
Okay. Wow.
Wow. This became about us. We didn't mean for that
Hey,
to
why
happen,
I want to get, before we end, while I got Lorie on the line, I just want to say something because I wanted Lorie to hear this. But very dear friend of ours, Sue Whittle, she's celebrating her birthday today.
Well, happy birthday.
Sue is very special to us. If you've ever been to any one of our seminars, once in a while Dave and I will display a collage blankets that she had made, one for Dave, one for me, and actually Lorie, you're on them. Sue's the one that made those for us. But
she is awesomeness.
Reason I'm bringing this up, and I want to end this on a positive note. With her permission, I'm asking for everyone's thoughts and prayers. Sue is an amazing, amazing lady. And her 25-year-old son is in the fight of his life fighting a medical condition. And I can't even stress what she's going through. And speaking to her last night, I said, I don't like putting people's business out there, but with your permission, I would like to. And the reason being is because I explained to her that there is no stronger family than the Paranormal family.
Absolutely.
And it's because of you all, everybody that's listening, watching, Lorie, Dave, everybody, that got me through a year and a half of the worst time that I've ever been in my life, not knowing if my wife was going to live or not. And like I explained to Sue, and I'll end it at this because I know I ramble, it's very important to get this out here, to get these thoughts and prayers to the Paranormal family, because the unity of the Paranormal family isn't just about ghosts. It's actually the ghosts that have brought us all together.
As a family, yeah. Absolutely.
So please, everybody, just 10 seconds, close your eyes
your
before you go to
Sue
bed.
And her son.
Yeah, Sue is an awesome lady, and she's doing everything she can, and her son is fighting so hard for his life. So any prayers, thoughts, energy, whatever it is you do,
I'll put a prayer chain out. I'll get my warriors, their earth angels.
Right.
We do have a circle, and the more the merrier. I'll put them in, and Dave, Ernie, give her my number, and if she needs anything insight-wise, I'll help her. I'll do what I can. I really liked her. I got to know her during the gun bash.
Right.
You know how the Paranormal is. Everybody is always against each other, and her and I started off really. It started really bad, not between her and I, but gossip.
Right.
And I finally got to know who she was at the gun bash, and there was another lady with her, and I love both of them.
Yeah, Erin.
Awesome women.
And the thing is, Lorie,
hilarious, actually.
everything that Sue has going on right now.
Yeah.
Almost every day she sends me a message and says she's worried about Ruby. You know what I mean? And it just goes to show you what type of person. So.
Oh, I got to know her, and she does have a beautiful light. She's doing everything, not for her, but for everybody and everything.
Yeah.
She does need time for herself.
She does. She really does. She really does. So.
I mean, people say the same thing to me, and I do know where she's coming from.
Right.
But she does need time for herself too.
Well, Lorie, thank you for taking an hour out of your well-deserved Sunday evening off, and
we love you, baby, and
talking with us.
I love you guys too, and I'm very honored that you have me on, even though I'm the last one.
No, actually, you're the third one. Believe it or not.
Okay, well then I feel fresh.
The last one.
No, you're the third one. What happened was we had two live ones. To the first ones about the bash. Then we had the ones that actually happened at the bash because we got voluntold to do those. So you're actually the first one coming back in.
Right. We just did. We had to have Pam and Steve on.
Oh my God, there's some good people.
Aren't they?
Awesome
the work that they do is just unfreaking believable.
And a lot of people need to start realizing paranormal is not just a haunting. It's also with ugly people trying to bring down the good people. So no matter if you do not hear it by their mouths, person that's being spoken of. Do not believe it unless you ask it yourself, because I'm telling you, Steve Barry, well, it's actually Stephen Barry and Pamela Barry are some really beautiful people.
They are.
They bust their butt. They give until they don't even have enough money to eat.
Yeah.
And I know who they are. I've known them for over 3 years now, and they're really good people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they really are. I mean, you summed it all up right there. I mean, not only, the bash, how that goes, but what they're doing for the children and the vets. I mean, it's just amazing. It takes a certain special type of person.
Absolutely. Ernie, I have to break you up. Your grandfather, I swear to God, this just freaked me out. I looked out my kitchen window. Your grandmother and your grandfather's walking down my street.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And she's got curlers in her hair.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Lorie?
I've never met your family. I don't know what they look like except spiritually, but I swear to God, they just walk, and she's got some kind of, I swear, it looks like she took a curtain and made a shirt out of it. But she's got curlers in her hair, and they're both holding each other's hands. She
used to wear, this, Lorie, I don't know the proper name because my grandparents had a way of naming things what they wanted.
Right.
But like at night when we would all, you remember back in the day, the family would sit down and you would all watch the same TV program. Mm-hmm. My grandmother would always wear what she called a house coat, which was basically like a snap-up nightgown.
My grandmother wore one of those
too.
Oh my God.
My grandma did. My mother did.
Wow.
Yeah, lady, that's what she's got on. And curlers in her hair.
Yeah.
And it looks like bobby pins in her head.
Wow. Amazing. I miss them. I miss them so much, Lorie.
They know that, but the reason why they probably did that, and then she waved and then did something to her eyeball, scratching it. But she's letting you know you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone, and stop worrying about things, because a lot of people don't understand something. The more you're worrying, the more you're creating it and giving it life.
Exactly.
You write everything, all your fears down on paper with pencil, fold it up, and throw it away. And it's not yours. You have to live every day as it's a new day and happy. Because the more we're fearing, we're becoming what we don't want to be, or we're creating something that it shouldn't be.
Right.
I agree.
And let me tell you, Ernie, I've already given you a reading on when your wife. I said you need to get your. When we were at that orphanage, I read your wife, and I told her she needs to get her heart checked, and you went and did it. You told me they did find something.
Well, they said that if we.
I sent something from her, I will tell you. I promise you.
I know you will.
I will have to talk to you.
But they said if she wouldn't have came in the day that she came in, and this is because of you, Lorie. If she wouldn't have came in the day she came in, 24 hours, she would have been dead.
Right. And that just tells you that her loved ones and the angels are protecting her.
Right.
Now, you're doing your job. Don't overwork it, because you're going to give yourself a hernia or an ulcer, and it's not a good thing, because you could put yourself in a stroke. Because you got to remember, even though she's a strong woman and very stubborn, the thing is,
when you said that, you're absolutely right.
Oh,
I love
it.
She can still sense your fears and your worries.
Right.
So stop doing that.
I think that's why she doesn't tell me everything.
Of course she's not going to, because she doesn't want. She loves you, honey.
Yeah. Because other than my wife and her son and our daughter-in-law and 2 granddaughters on my side, I have absolutely no one. So
yeah, but you know what? Even if they're here and they're gone, honey, that's not true. We do have someone.
Right.
Just because we can't feel them doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah.
The soul lives on.
But that was my.
Reincarnated.
I spoke to, and it's funny you bring this up, Lorie. When she was in the hospital with the quadruple bypass, and I was home alone one night. I had to come home, and Ruby's son come over. And as sick as she was in the hospital, she managed to tell him, when you get a minute, talk to Ernie, because his biggest fear is like being and dying alone. You know what I mean?
You're not going to die alone, and you're not going to be alone. I promise.
Right.
I would not lie to anyone.
Right.
Because me, I'd rather tell the truth than you living on hopes.
Right. Right. Well, Lorie, we're going to let you go. We're running a little bit over here. And again, we love you more than anything in this world. And if you ever need anything, you know where we're at. And we're only minutes away from you.
Ditto.
And we will be in touch for our next venture together,
Most
which
definitely.
we are always looking forward to.
All right, and Dave, you make sure that you contact me, so let's get this boy moved on.
Yes, ma'am. Love you as always. Thank you for being on with us.
Thank you for everything, Lorie. We love you.
Thank you for having me on.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so guys, thank you for watching. With that, said, Ernie, anything else you got?
I normally somehow we always throw in a couple jokes and things get funny, but I knew having Lorie on it would be intense. It always is.
Yep.
And
That hit too close to home.
yeah, man, I'm just like exhausted.
Yep.
I feel tired. You know what I mean?
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah, she's amazing. For those of you that haven't had the honor of meeting Lorie in person, just go on her website.
Find one of her venues. She's incredible.
She's
remarkable,
really good.
Amazing.
And she doesn't even need to be sitting next to
No.
you to read you. So
Yep. So all you got to do is talk to her,
yeah,
and she'll
pay attention to any up and coming events that Dave and I are hosting, because a lot of times Lorie will travel with us.
Love you, sweetie. Thank you.
So good night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. We will see you in 2 weeks. We will announce our next special guest soon. And before we go, check this out.
Checking it out.
I got very honored to say this, but we were offered, everyone knows our hearts are at the Haldeman Mansion. Unfortunately, after this season, the Haldeman is going to be shutting down its paranormal program. But anyway, we were asked if we would come back and do our original Step into the Paranormal seminar, followed by an investigation. So we're working on a date with Miss Laura. We love you, Laura.
Love you, Laura.
And as soon as we get a date, you want to get your tickets, and
Because they're going to go quick.
yeah, and like I said, it's our original our original seminar. It's a lot of fun. We always have a lot of fun with it. So once we post a date, get your tickets. Come on out. Let's take the mansion out in a bang.
Woohoo!
It's been good to so many of us, and we've
Yeah.
had so much fun there over the years. So
And give Laura some love, too.
yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Good night.
And anything we can do for you, be sure to contact Dave or I.